Yeah. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. I done had a birthday. I went to a funeral. I'm home. Even went to the grocery store. Hi. Hi, there's a shadow. Jesus is Lord. I am undergoing some big life changes. Things are happening, shaking and moving, if you will, and I wanted to share some of it. I'm starting over as an adult, and it's exciting. So I have moved far, far away. I am single after almost about 4 years, and I thought that this was going to be the forever situation, and I'm so glad that it isn't. I know that that kind of sounds mean. Well, no, frig that. I am glad. I wanted to talk about my starting over, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that happened, some of the things that went wrong. Not for tea, not for shade, not for mess, because that's not what I desire to put out into the world. People live life every day, and oh heck, there's always somebody who is going through some sort of change. People start over, and I wanted to show some of mine. I just feel like social media is so pretty and glitzy and glammy, and you're showing the vacations and this, that, and the third, and that's lovely, and I love those wonderful things for everybody. I just also feel like we should see some of the other things, some of the things that maybe take place before you get to that point. You see what I'm saying? I don't have the relationship, unfortunately, with my older siblings where we can talk about life things. So I feel like this is also part of it. Consider me your fairy god cousin if you so choose. And I'm just sharing my experience. Alrighty. In documenting the starting over, in documenting what went wrong, I was editing, and when I was playing that stuff back and listening to what the fresh heck happened, I gotta tell you, I was beside myself. I was beside myself. I was disgusted. I was ashamed, embarrassed, sad, and kind of scared. I'm kind of scared, not for me anymore, but for what the next person's going to go through. Because one thing I have realized, I'm sorry. No, that seriously, um, I'm nervous for whoever will be this next person's victim, supply, source, whatever. I'm very concerned. Too much of it sounded like emotional manipulation. Too much of it was, and I want to be careful of throwing this around because one, like I'm not a licensed therapist, but it was giving narcissistic abuse. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Some of it, some of it. Again, I'm not a therapist, so I won't be calling it that throughout the video. I'm just saying like the things that I heard, it sounded like it. Again, this is not for shade. This is not for mess. This is not for slander. This is for me speaking directly to the emotional manipulation. This is not the entirety of the relationship. This is not the entirety of me. This is not the entirety of my ex. Hi, hi, hi. I do stand 100% 10 toes down on any business. That being said, some things were great. Things were fabulous. But there were a lot of things that were not. And I'm going to try not to use language of should have, could have, would have. I know now what I didn't know then. There were many red flags. To my understanding, from the start, I was dealing with somebody who was kind, somebody who was sweet, somebody who also was guarded, like myself as well. Then there was also what I understood to be very traumatized. A lot of trauma in the background, a lot of pain, a lot of betrayal, just a whole lot of unfortunate things that should not have happened. So, with understanding this and with also having some similarities in our backgrounds as far as like experiences with parents, for her, it was her mom. For me, it was my dad. I was able to empathize. I was able to understand why some things were the way that they were. Um, yeah. And we were always able to have a conversation and come down to. except for in the very, very end, which I'll get to. But I just thought everything was trauma related. And because I saw like a willingness to do better, because I saw remorse or what appeared to be remorse at the time with some things, with many things, I stuck with it. One of the signs of emotional manipulation are diminishing your problems or concerns to play up their own. I'm a very expressive person. You can probably tell that. I speak up when I'm not comfortable. I speak up when I don't like something. If I value the relationship in any way more so, I'm going to speak up. If I'm never going to see you again, if I don't have to be around you, I probably won't say too much depending on what the fresh heck is happening because I don't care. When I care, I want to speak up. I want to salvage the relationship. I don't want to harp at anything. So, and just because I say that, it doesn't mean that it was ever easy to do. It doesn't mean that it just flew off the tip. I would also go inside of myself and internalize. I would just second guess myself. I would think like, all right, is this really necessary? Like what really happened? Unfortunately, yeah, second guessing myself. When I would get to a point where I could speak up about it, I would do my best to give as much detail and really express how I felt about a lot. And one thing that really pissed me off, one thing that really just irked my whole entire existence was having what I said regurgitated back toward me, just reducing it down to like a bullet point when it was a paragraph. And it oversimplified everything. It oversimplified what I was saying to the point where it was diminished to a point where it didn't seem like any of what I said was understood. It didn't seem like there was any sort of understanding where I was coming from. And like the point of talking about something isn't to talk at you. It's like a conversation situation, you know? So converse, like tell me like do you see, do you understand any of it? So that was just always really, really irksome to me. When she did speak up about something in fullness, like, oh boy, it was, I don't know, it was just really, really big. And she would belabor the point, just like beat a dead horse, if you will. And then there would be times where I would go and express what I said, regurgitate it back real short, and then start talking about what she had an issue with. And it's just like, don't, can we can talk about what happened with you. We can talk about your feelings, but hi, like acknowledge what was said first. Passive aggressiveness. Because I was able to speak up, I didn't harbor anything. There were no secret negative feelings. Like what are we doing? You know, this person, she wasn't used to speaking up as much. I completely understand like being in a space where, you're growing up and you're not really allowed to speak up on how you feel. If you speak up on how you feel, there would be some sort of an issue. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of parents have an issue with hearing anything from their child, hearing anything negative, and it's seen as you're talking back or you're being disrespectful. If they are being disrespectful in the delivery, give the tools. Unfortunately, some people just cannot hear anything negative about themselves. So instead of taking any sort of accountability, it'll be, oh, well, you're just too sensitive. You shouldn't take it that way. You're reading too deeply into it. I mean, I said it with a smile, so I don't get what's going on. Just pretty much anything negative and anything to shift the blame. When you can't speak up, what do? You freaking learn to shut down. And sometimes it'll just come out in a passive aggressive way instead of actually addressing how you feel. So, this was a nuisance to me because while I did understand, I understood, all right, this is not something that you're used to. Honestly, I can't even say that I was used to speaking up as much in my household. What happened then is what happened then. And yes, it's something that I carry, but the things that I do, like the things that bother me, those are signs of things that don't sit right with me and things that I want to do better, things that I want to switch around, things that I want to improve on. I'm not suffering in silence anymore. Like, we're adults. Let's speak up. Let's have a conversation. Letting you speak first to establish your baseline and then looking for the weaknesses. The really strange thing that would happen was questioning. Questions are fine, But the way that the questioning would take place was very bizarre to me. My ex would ask a question and then ask another question and then ask a question that seemed like she might have disapproved of what I said, as if anything needed approval, or as if she disagreed with what I said or was bothered by it. And then would ask another question, and then I would ask a question, the first question, but in a way that it was different, like just rephrasing the first question to see if I answered the same, as if I was lying or something. And I wasn't, but it was just really weird. And she would just, I don't know, just all of these questions, like I was in a freaking witness stand, like I was in a trial or something, and not give an inkling of what she felt. So then I would ask a question about how she felt or what she thought, or why are you asking me all these questions? And then it became a thing of, oh, you're deflecting, or oh, you're being roundabout and this, that. No, no, no. That is your own paranoia. You don't get to put that on me. And that would lead into an argument situation. Because for me, it's like, who are you talking to? And it was just the weirdest thing. But again, I attributed this to trauma. I thought, okay, you know what? Somebody clearly lied to you. Like somebody was playing some sort of a weird game. I get it. And the whole time, with everything, I thought, you know what? Let me just continue to show up as who I am. Let me just continue being genuine. Let me try to answer some of these things to let the guard down. I saw some of it as a guard. I saw some of it as needing to be protected. Now, if you're in a relationship, you have to let the guard down. Is like it's got to come down. It's nobody's job to put it down. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that ever again. But these are things that you learn. And it so often felt like she was a parent. You ever see a parent, and this nettles me, but a parent who they know that their kid is lying, but then they ask them a bunch of questions about something and they act as if they never caught them in the lie. And it's like they want to see, well, how far are you going to take it? How far are you going to take it? What are you going to say? And like, I'm a whole adult. You're not my parent. I'm not lying. What the heck? Hopefully, you'll catch on about what I've attributed this to. There was the gaslighting. Now, this has become a very, very popular term. I did not know what gaslighting was until I met her. So when it happened, it was just strange. I thought that she'd been lied to and was just trying to figure some stuff out, or maybe just was confused. There were times where I thought that she was confused. There were times where I thought, oh, well, clearly it's just a misunderstanding. So then I would try to explain something in like a slightly different way so that it would be understood better. You're asking me this over and over again. You keep asking me the same thing in a different way. Clearly, I'm not explaining this correctly. She would claim that I didn't say what I did say, that I said something that I did not say, that it had a different meaning, that I switched up, that I was acting or carrying myself in a way that I was not. And frankly, never have. Never have, because it just was not in my character. It was not in my character. I don't know how else to say this but to say it. It was giving delusion. It was giving like she lived in delusion. She lived in like a fantasy, a negative, dark fantasy land. It's like it would be, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm just going to go on to the next one. Distortion. Here we go. Okay. She would claim that I was calculated and knew how to play the game. And so my question would be, well, what freaking game? I would vocalize that I did not understand what she was talking about with certain and her mind was set. She would pull these theories. She would have these theories about me, about what I said, about the way that I'm moving, about something that she think is happening or something that she thought happened. And it would it would always be something that villainized me. Every single time it would be something that made me look negative, something that portrayed me in a way that I just simply was not. Information would be pulled from thin air, and none of it would be factual. Or if there was something that was factual, more would be built off of it that was not true. And it did not matter what fact was real, it did not matter what evidence was there. Once the mind was set, that was it. And there was a lot of cherry picking information that took place to go along with whatever theory. And my thought was, God, dog, like you have really been through some crap. Like, who the heck have you been linking up with? Who has been in your life for you to like have had these negative experiences? For you to think something like this could be. And then for me, no, I'm just gonna keep showing up as who I am. Cause that's not me. And I had this thing where I needed to vindicate myself. I really did. I really did. And I also feel like this was part of the manipulation. It seemed like she wanted to see me squirm looking back. It seemed like, again, like she was just so set in these twisted, ridiculous, frankly, thoughts of how I was moving, or that I was hiding things, or that there were lies or secrets. Ooh, a lizard. Lies and secrets and all kinds of stuff. Woo! Okay, the next one is say, leave you questioning your own sanity. And there was a point where I'd made a comment. I was saying, like, I feel like I'm gonna end up in an institution dealing with you. I just felt like I started losing it. I felt like it was in a constant battle. I was in a constant battle to like prove myself at a certain point. Uh, it was just, it was a dark time. But then it's just like things would get better. It would be this weird thing where it's just like negative, 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 and then like boom, just like amazing. Like things would be great. And then yeah, it was a mess. That's toxicity, man. It's just freaking mess. Dumpster fire. Oh my Jesus. Alrighty. The next one is giving you little or no time to decide. Questions would be asked. Now, these were questions sometimes where I never thought about them. I don't just want to say any old thing. So I would say, like, hey, I need some time to think about it. And then I would not be given the time to think about it. She would do this thing. She would say, like, well, I mean, you never answer. You never come back to it. I've asked you plenty of questions and you never come back to them. And so now it's like, now I'm questioning myself and I'm like, well, what questions did I never give the answer to? Because from what I remember is I would say that I need some time, but then like she would bring it back up and it's just like, well, how am I taking time to reflect on anything if you're just gonna keep asking me? I never get back to it myself because you just asked me. I would ask, well, what didn't I answer? And there was never an answer. And looking back, it just kind of seems like that was a way to pressure me into giving a response because you wanted it right then and there. And that's just not how you treat people. It would have been nice to have an example of a question that I did not answer. There never was one. There never was one. And another part of why I wanted to take my time was because she, again, the whole gaslighting thing, she would say that I said something that I didn't say, twist the meaning, all of the examples that I gave before. So, dear Lord, I attributed all of this to being lied to, being played with, being manipulated from her experience. Now, meanwhile, it was happening to me, I would call things out as manipulation. I absolutely 100% would call things out as manipulation. I would argue about things. I would speak up for myself. And I thought that in speaking up for myself that I was doing something. And the reality is I wasn't. I didn't see this at the time, but no, I wasn't. I wasn't. She even calls me an aggressive femme. Like she had this thing about dominance, like wanting to be a dominant woman and wanting to like lead. None of that was of interest to me. But it's not like I was looking for, hey, I want a dominant kind of a person. I just wanted somebody I couldn't walk over and also who would not walk over me. There was also this thing with giving no time to decide. Now I'm not sure if this falls under this category, so if it doesn't, it doesn't. She had this thing about yes or no answers. A really odd thing to me. because in a conversational exchange, there should be give and take. People should be able to converse. Like we're having a dialogue, we're going back and forth. I ask questions for clarity. I want to know of my options. I want to understand things, especially in having the history of being gaslit by this person. I want to have a full understanding. If you're continuously saying, and I started to believe it, even though it wasn't true. I started to believe it even though it wasn't true, that like I'd been switching up on my answers. The mind games that took place. And this is why I'm concerned for whoever is next. Like best wishes run like hell. I wanted to be certain of exactly what I was saying. Like superbly certain. We get into arguments because you don't get to tell me that I have to answer in a certain way. It would become this thing where she'd say like that I'm evading the answers, or that I'm roundabout and that I speak like a politician. I'm asking you freaking questions. I'm whimsical in the way that I speak from time to time. I am. None of it is with the intention of like deceiving anybody. That's never been something that I've experienced anybody saying in the history of anything ever. I don't know. I don't know how to wrap my mind around that other than like you want control of the conversation. And there would be times where like she would say little things or keep poking and poking and poking and poking for, and it seemed like for a reaction. And I say that because it would get to a point where I would start yelling, not something that I'm proud of, not something that I'm saying is okay. And this is something that I realized that I had to work on. This was something that she called out that I needed to work on. Understandable. Yelling isn't cool. It seemed like she was doing this to get something out of me. It seemed like she was doing this to bring out the ugly side, honestly, so that she felt better about being called out for things, so that there was something negative with me too. Because honestly, it was me doing a lot of the calling out and me pointing out a lot of things. And then there would be a comment of, oh, there it is. There it is. There she goes. As if you didn't just like tap dance on negativity, tap dance on the last one. It was freaking bizarre. Like a lot of these things I'd never experienced. So I didn't know how to identify it as just like straight up toxicity. I thought it was weird, but I also knew that people went through things. And it's like when you have parents, what? I didn't see my parents' arguments. I didn't see what like grown people who had been together for a long time. I didn't see like the negative things that they went through. So I'm thinking, well, I mean, everybody goes through something. No, Chica, everybody doesn't go through this stuff. Nobody should be going through this. Nobody. I kept seeing a quote that said, manipulation is when they blame you for your reaction to their disrespect. And that's something that I struggled with, and I don't know if I struggle with it to this day. And this is going to be something that I have to ask my therapist. I don't know if I struggle with it because like yelling is wrong, like screaming at somebody is wrong, or if it's like because she made me feel bad for having a reaction to being manipulated and disrespected. I don't know. This is going to be something that I have to dive in. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, these are the reasons why I'm not just trying to jump into anything with anybody anytime soon. Not like I'm just cutting myself off forever. Just, I need to work on me. I need to heal. But I don't want to bring somebody into mess. So, victimhood. Now, this one is like I'm kind of uncertain, but I have a good feeling, so I'm just going to trust my gut. I kept mentioning that there were things that were attributed to trauma. My ex told me stories about her upbringing. She told me stories about her family, some of the people closest to her, some of the experience that she'd had. In all of these stories, she was the victim. I did not hear of stories where she started anything, which was strange to me because she wanted me to talk about my shortcomings in stories of exes and what went wrong. it was always the other person. When she spoke about this young lady, I don't know, it was just a lot of negativity. A lot of negativity and a lot of stuff that a girl did, not about what she did. In all of these things, she played a victim. She was at the receiving end of hurt, harm, danger. I'd also seen some of the exchanges that they had. With the things that I saw, with the way that some of them would act, would carry themselves, I absolutely saw what she was saying. But here's where I struggle, because she was really, really good at cherry picking information to create the story. She was really, really good at picking little pieces, bits by bits, to go along with the theory that she had. This is something that I saw with me. So, because that was something that I experienced, I don't know the extent of what is true and what is false with other people. It's not mine to figure out. It's not mine. But I don't know, it shifted everything. It shifted everything. Like, she was this black sheep sort of person. And I don't know, there's something about that where I don't always trust it. I don't always trust it. But in this case, it made so much sense. And I just honestly, I think truly that she was just so good at curating this story and setting things up so that these people really looked like villains. These people really looked like villains. There was an instance. We were at a bowling alley. This was the first time where I'm hanging out with her sister, some other people. And so her sister's like looking at me. She's like, "You have a glow about you. Like, you have such a glow about you." I'm thinking, oh snap, like this is my face mask, like really doing its thing. It's really doing its thing. Because, girl, it wasn't the freaking face mask. She was talking about me. She was talking about me. And I noticed it because she said it a second time. This was on a second. Well, she was saying that, like, I have so much peace around me. One thing about me is I'm going to be authentic and I'm going to operate in that. Okay. I show up as who I am, and I'm kind, and genuinely in my core, I am kind. This does not mean I'm perfect. I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think I'm better than. That's not the case. I have peace around me. I do. And I make it my business to have peace around me. And I make it my business to treat people right, treat people to the best of my ability. She looks to her sister, her own flesh and blood, and says, "Don't taint her." Now, at the time, she'd painted her out to be, my ex painted her own sister out to be, let me not say that, because some people do have raggedy sisters. She painted her sister out to be a funky individual. Also having some sweet qualities, also, having some good things, but like top note is funk, if you will. So I thought, okay, is that a slight? I thought, this is a slight to your sister. Like, why would you say that at such a nice moment? But oh my God, this was the kind of thing where it just like passed in my brain. It passed in my mind. And at the end of it all, it's one other thing that pops up. There was another comment where there was a conversation with a loved one where things were said, old stories were pointed out, um, and one of the things that were said were along the lines of like, this person did not see the things, but she did not see the things the way that my ex saw it. But she went ahead and gave her what she needed at the time. And I'll say that because I don't want to go too far in sharing a story that isn't mine. And at the time, I just thought, there it is again. Like, that's crazy. This person just does not know how to apologize or how to see like past herself, because this is who she's painted her out to be. This is how she has depicted her to be, how she has explained her to be a narcissist. Whole time, this is something that it went dormant in my brain. It just fizzled away. and then it came back. I hope you'll see where it comes back. So much died down, but I'm also not really sure if things actually died down or if she just became like super smooth with it. Because my thing was, she was really smooth, and I feel like everything was laid out between the stories with the family, between even saying like some wild things about other people, but it was actually her doing those things, and things about me, but it was actually her. I never would have guessed it. She's really, really good. And I think for that, she should not be on the streets. She should not be allowed amongst the public for like dating purposes because I don't think that she's safe. So if you're in the tri-state area, for the girlies who like the girlies, or even if you're somebody else, because who knows, she could move. I don't know. If any of this story aligns and you're concerned that you may have found the same person, can reach out to me. I can't promise how quickly I'll respond, but like email or something, DM or something. Give me a name and I'll confirm or deny. But I won't just put their information out like that. Yeah, I was really concerned about the well-being of people. All of this died down. All of this died down. Things were good. Things were pretty awesome. Like there were little annoying things. Little annoying things. And honestly, on the outside, you probably would have never been able to guess this looking in. Never. But we were moving. We were planning on moving, and things were in motion as far as saving, started decluttering, started packing things up, and we were going to move to a location that is close to my family. Oh, freaking happy day. I love my family. At this point, my family knew. My ex announced it on social media. I took a trip out to visit. One, honestly, she was getting on my nerve, and I just wanted some time. This was also going to be like the last time that I get to visit my family, and it's just like a visit. Like I get to fly out and just be with them. The next time I was going to be living there. So I wanted to have that experience. So, spur of the moment, boom, I left. Looking at apartments, found one, fell in love. It fell through. I didn't plan on this video being so long, so the cut is abrupt. But part two is where the negative behaviors come back into play and everything comes together. So if you have anything that is kind or encouraging or whatever it is, something similar to add, just because something tells me there may be somebody who's going through something similar and they'll be watching and reading in the comments. So